Live from the City Building in Athens, Ohio, your local source for live city meetings, TGC 15 presents Athens City Council.
Where's Wild here?
Okay.
He's taking somebody out.
This is a regular meeting of Athens City Council on Tuesday, because of Labor Day yesterday, Tuesday, September 7th, 2010. To make things a little less usual than usual, we're going to open with a Finance and Personnel Committee with some discussion of some appropriations and transfers that need to be put into ordinance form, and we will be reading it for first reading later on. I think maybe the auditor has
Okay, I can start,
some
and
discussion.
maybe the Service Safety Director can help with any other questions you might have. I'll just go down the list. We haven't met for a month. However, the mayor, the Finance Committee, and I have met early in July and again last week and talked about these things. And since we haven't met or been able to start any of this through in July, we asked for this committee meeting, and so they are on the agenda tonight, even though you haven't seen them until today. And most of them are business as usual, bookkeeping updates and things like that. First of all, this is 08910. The $35,000 to the Tourism Fund is to make payments to the Athens County Convention and Visitors Bureau. As you know, about 50% of the money that comes in there from our transient guest tax is sent right back out to the EDC and the Visitors Bureau. And so we just need to appropriate that. Our money has come in quicker this year, and so we need an appropriation. Their payments usually, they're quarterly payments, and the fourth payment usually goes out after the first of the year. However, as I said, the money has come in quicker, and we need more appropriation so we can turn that around. We do have a time frame limit where we are supposed to pay that within 20 days of receiving the money. The second one, $9,000, is to the police in the general fund for supplies. They have had some money, they need supply money, and they've had some restitution monies come in. So far, $6,000 has come in, and there are at least one or two other people going to court and being asked for restitution as a result of Mill Palmer spring parties. And so they could use that money in their supply fund. They've been pretty diligent, and always has been, the chief, about watching his budget and paying attention to when they need money. $15,000 for Halloween is at Paula's request. I don't know if you want to address that, but we do incur expenses, and we need that appropriated.
We had budgeted, because of the tight budget, we had only put in $10,000. Traditionally, we run $24,000 or greater in the Halloween expenses.
So that will also be in the general fund. In the past, we have appropriated that in the tourism fund, but we have changed the way we post that TGT money, and most of it goes into the general fund now, and only the payments that go back out are being appropriated into the tourism fund. So that will be appropriated in the general fund in other admin. 46 cents in the sewer debt fund. That money was appropriated. We know our OWDA sewer debt amounts. It's a schedule, we know. That was due to rounding down instead of up in last year's budget. Instead of, the cents got dropped off, and so we just need that to clean up the books and not have a negative in there. The $5,614.57 is in an old fund that has not been active since I've been in office. 764 is the Route 56 sewer improvement fund project, and it's just leftover money from a project that's long been completed, and so we want to move that into, I'm not sure this reads just quite right. Oh, no, this is just the appropriation. Sorry, you're right. Debbie did this right. Last minute today, but she did it. We're just appropriating that so that we can move it into the sewer debt fund. So that is 764 is that debt, is that fund. As far as the then decreasing and increasing, We have the $2,000 in the auditor's budget. It's in our supply fund. We need to buy some office chairs. It's been over 3 years since we bought chairs for people, and some people are using chairs that were purchased for other employees. And we obviously spend a lot of time sitting in front of our computers there and need to purchase some chairs. We have the money in the supply line, but I would prefer to purchase that out of the 500s, which has a furniture and fixtures account line, so it shows a truer picture of how we're spending our money. So we're just moving that money. It's not a new appropriation. The sewer fund, we are decreasing the 100s by $50,000 and increasing the 200s for sewer maintenance projects, and Paula can tell you more about the projects. But the reason we are able to do that is we have had one sewer employee who has not worked almost all year, and another one, same thing, maybe half the year. So we do have some savings in, or at least not worked in that fund. In the 100s, and since there are always lots of projects out there, Andy would like to go ahead and use that money elsewhere for projects, and I don't know if Paula has any more details on that. What he wants to do.
Thank you. It was a request from the city engineer. Because of the fact he's at like 36% of his salary utilized as of the last payroll, because somebody indeed has been off on leave, on injury leave for the entire portion of this year, and somebody else has transferred to a different department. And even though the projects aren't identified, believe me, he said, if I have money, I can fix things. And so as you see some orange cones out there, we have a lot of storm sewers and other projects and repairs that have just been lingering. So if you can get this $50,000, put it to work.
Okay, and the final, Section 3, that we really have to deal with is interfund transfers, and this one involves taking 40 cents from the General Fund 101 and putting it in Agency Fund 901.
What about the other 6 cents?
Pardon? Oh, no, this is a different one. That's
Okay.
the 46 and 40. I don't know that I've ever had to ask for such small amounts, but there you have it. We had a defeased debt that from 1989 that I can't truly explain to you, as it could not be explained to me when I took office. It was automatic money payments taken by the bank every year. We don't appropriate that money. We do nothing with it. Money goes in there, and then it's taken out to pay this debt. And so if you look at, the appropriations, we'd have no money that we appropriate. That ended at the end of 2009, 20 years we paid that. It's over now. And we've never had to do any paperwork on it either. Well, somehow we ended up with a 40-cent negative in our bank statement, and so we just need to put some money in there to cover that, and then we will be done with that in our reports. And then that State Route 56 sewer improvements is going to go into the sewer debt fund. That's the $5,614.57. Not appropriating it right now, except to move it into the sewer debt fund. Any questions?
Are there any questions at this point? This is first reading. We'll have 2 more readings. I
guess, do we have LEAC serving the people on 56? Or did we do water improvements too when we annexed it? I think it's 50-50. I think it should go into the water fund.
Oh, we can look at that.
I mean, you can look it
You
up.
want to take that off for now?
No.
I mean, it's been
I think we
sitting
need to
there.
look it up and change it if that's the case.
Okay.
'Cause
Well, this will just be first reading tonight. Do you want me to?
Somebody needs to check it.
Okay. Do that for the next reading, or?
Right, we can change
Please.
it.
Okay.
I mean, it seems it's minor, but it's still important.
No, you're right. I just don't know very much about it. It's been sitting there since before my terms. So we can do that. I do have one other one I could talk about, since this, everyone on this council has seen this before, but it's only once a year. 9010 is another one for me. We're starting this a little bit early, but this is just the ordinance authorizing my office to reduce appropriations as necessary for the end of the year for the auditors. This is sort of a blanket approval, instead of us going through every fund and account line and saying, listing them in a 2 or 3 page ordinance. This stems from the fact, the auditors brought this to our attention several years ago, that we estimate revenue, which doesn't always come in, sometimes higher, sometimes lower than we estimate, and so council appropriates accordingly. If council appropriates all of the money and it doesn't come in, even if we don't spend it, it looks bad on the books. The auditors don't like that. So we don't spend more money than we have. However, an ordinance and an appropriation, an appropriate balance sheet that shows that our appropriations exceed our actual revenue at the end of the year is not okay with our auditors for bookkeeping purposes. So we have to go in and reduce those in case we don't quite get all the money. Some funds, cut it very close. So we have to reduce those appropriations to make sure that it doesn't look like we could spend the money even though we don't ever, spend more than we have.
Thank you.
Technicality type thing for the auditors.
But it is several years that we've
Yes.
done this ordinance.
Yes, yeah.
It is a lot easier for council. Well, it might be more work for you all, but easier for us.
Well, we have to go in and reduce them anyway, but to provide council with a, big ordinance for that. It's hard for us to do that before getting into December. Sometimes we wait till the very end of December to reduce those appropriations accordingly. So this helps me a lot.
Thank you, Auditor, for catching us up on these two ordinances. Again, we'll count that as first reading when we go through it, and further questions will probably come up, maybe some other adjustments. We might have an adjustment suggested by Councilmember Bain already. So, okay. I think we're going to end our Finance and Personnel Committee and move into, at 7:30, we're going to move into our regular session of council. We'll first of all establish a quorum. We have 6 members here. I'm serving as President Pro Tem. I will be, if there were anything to vote on, I would be voting, but we won't be voting tonight. So we have a quorum present. We have one disposition of minutes to take care of. These are the minutes for the regular session held July 19th, 2010. Somebody like to move to accept those?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I have no communications.
I have communication. I received a letter from the mayor who would like a motion from the council to accept Andrea Lewis as a member of the Municipal Arts Commission. She'll be replacing Patty Mitchell, who resigned earlier. So if we want to move a motion to accept her as a volunteer for the Municipal Arts Commission. Andrea Lewis works at the Dairy Farm. She's the director of Dairy Farm. I think it's a wonderful addition to the Municipal Arts Commission. Second.
Second? Okay. All those in favor of accepting that nomination, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We do accept that nomination then. And actually, I do have some communications. I'm sorry. These are both dealing with some liquor permits. The first one is a transfer from, I think in title only, from Hook Super X LLC at 555 East State Street to Ohio CVS Stores LLC at 555 East State Street. This is obviously the CVS store. They're simply changing the name of the name that's listed on their liquor permit. If there are comments or concerns, they need to be addressed by the 9th of September this year to the Division of Liquor Control. We can provide you with that address or phone number if needed. Also, we have a hearing as a result of some action taken by council regarding an upgrade to an existing liquor permit at the Smiling Skull Saloon. They would like to increase their, they'd like to change their classification to a Class D5, which would allow them some later hours of operation. A hearing regarding this change will be held on September 15th, 2010 at 1 o'clock at the Athens County Department of Job and Family Services, 13183 State Route 13 in Millfield. The hearing will be conducted by video conference with the Division of Liquor Control being beamed into the Millfield site. If you are planning to go, please check in with the receptionist or security at the building when you arrive. Again, this is September 15th at 1 o'clock regarding the D5 permit application from Smiling Skull. Okay, I think that's all I've got right now. Reports and communications from other elected officials.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one note on that D5 permit application hearing on the 15th, which I will be representing the City of Athens at that telephonic hearing. I will need to have a witness or witnesses, be it from council or the code director or someone from the administration, to actually give testimony at that hearing. I'm presenting the case, but I can't, testify as a witness at that case. So if there's anyone we want to nominate to send to that hearing, then I'm certainly willing to be open to suggestions on that. The only other issue I wanted to mention was during the August recess, we did have some developments on the case, I guess round 2 of the litigation involving the landlord-tenant forms. And once again, the city has for now emerged victorious in that struggle to uphold the constitutionality of that law, which was passed by council several years ago. I won't get into too many of the details right here because I could talk for 15 minutes about this, but suffice it to say that the Athens County Municipal Court has again upheld the constitutionality of the law and of the forms, both as that ordinance is written and as that ordinance has been enforced. And so that's where we're at for now. Whether that will be appealed again is not something that I can guess on, but for now we've been upheld again in municipal court on that. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Law Director Lang. Any other communications from council members? Other elected officials? Auditor, did you have something to say?
Okay, I'll go first. Try to be quick. Tired of listening to me tonight. The first thing I want to bring up is the fact that our audit went in and came back in record time this year. In July, while we were on recess, we got our letter back from the state, auditor state approval, and we had no management letter this year, which basically says that we had a perfect audit. And we had one issue on there the last 2 years, and that has finally come off, and so we've done very well with that. It's something I've worked very hard for ever since I started, because we had several issues, and many of them are minor, but they still need to be taken care of, and some of them not so minor. But anyway, we did a really good job this year, and I want to thank everybody who helped with that.
All of them involve a great deal of attention by the people in your office.
They do. They do. We send boxes of papers. Our work papers we send in boxes to the auditors. So, and we deal with them on site. But we've had a good auditing firm, which for 4 years now, which I could add to that their contract is up, and we have to go out to bid again with the state, which is an involved process, takes a little time. The final decision is up to the auditor state's office, but I would like to get our same firm back again, but we'll see. I've had a lot of calls from other firms because the auditor state has it up on their website that we are going out to bid this year, so calls and emails. But so we're starting that process, so hopefully it won't delay our audit being finished next year. Two other things I want to mention just briefly for council's information, is our budget process. We'll be starting, we typically start in October. I thought next committee meeting, I'd bring an updated budget timeline for council to review and see if they want to stick to that timeline, what they want to do. I really would not be ready before towards the end of October to give revenue projections, but I'm fine with, the current process the way it is. So anyway, we can talk about that more at committee. I just want to let you know if anybody else has any other thoughts or ways to do that. Also, our community center bond is a 16-year bond. We've been paying on it for 10 years now, which now makes us eligible to renegotiate that. So our bondholder contacted me, and we met with him, the mayor, and I can't remember who else was there. Mary Ann, that's right. And so we are going to work with him. We, of course, would only do this if it benefited the city, but he seems to think that it would over the next 6-year life of the loan because of interest rates. And our bond rating has gone up this past year. So we actually have to do, which is really a reevaluation. Most municipalities, they're evaluating municipalities and private businesses differently instead of the same. And so our bond rating did go up. Anyway, it's a process, and we are meeting again on Thursday. In the meantime, we have to come up with debt policies and cash reserve policies. The cash reserve has to do with carryover. I've gotten quite a bit of feedback from other entities when I put out a request for information, and actually Treasurer Mary Ann and Deputy Auditor Ray Hazlett are working on that. I don't think we'll have that ready for our bondholder this Thursday, but we will be talking about that. So there will be some work involved for us to do, for us to be able to renegotiate that. But I just want council to be aware that we are looking into that, and we'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Treasurer Wicklow, did you have something?
Yes, I have my second quarter report. It's the reconciliations for April, May, and June, and the back page is the interest report that shows the accumulated interest, actually through July, since I have the July figures, of $84,254.58. So we're attempting to make the projections. It'll be close. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments at this time? Okay, thank you, Otter. We'll move on to ordinances for second reading. These were ordinances that had their... Can we do that at the end? Or no, you need to do...
I'm not elected, but the mayor did ask, Bill's sitting as mayor, if I could just give a few updates to council.
Okay, well, fine. We can do it now.
Now is good? Okay.
Now it's good.
I often hear, well, what is the city doing? Or it doesn't seem like people are hearing about that. Surely everybody knows now the roundabout is pretty open and clear. They'll be working on that way into the end of November, getting the final pieces in place in terms of landscaping and reduced ridge painting and what have you. Jeff Hill, we're still waiting on, as you read probably in one of today's papers, on the OU chilled water line inspection before we open that, but we hope to have it open here in about 2 weeks, and it'll be nice. It's nice at the bottom of the hill if you've seen that. For the Oxbow Bridge, that's a 2012 project. The design engineer has been chosen, and so we're entering into negotiations with the design engineer for that. For the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, design engineer has been chosen for that, too. We're going to couple that with the energy efficient CBGs project, Blackcraft project, and make sure that we're online for that, along with the partnering with the OU's professor there. The parking garage masonry repairs were done this summer, so those have been completed. These are all things that you've agreed to fund. So under Nature Works, if you get down to the community center in the back, we have a beautiful new roller rink set up down there. They have some lighting and some finalization to do, but it's very nice. The pool, the slide has been ordered. Once it comes in, of course, we'll install that come early spring. But we have some other repairs we're going to be doing and talking about for the pool. Solar panels, everybody's seen it. At least what will support the solar panels are going up. The canoe access ramp was bid and awarded, and that's to begin here mid to late September, so that will be completed this year. We were awarded an extension for our bikeway that will go over the old railroad bridge down at the end of West State Street Park. And we have finally the official award from Appalachian Regional Commission on the $400,000 for the ARC Access Road Grant for Circle Drive. And finally, from the city engineer, wanted to make everyone aware that we really depend on the street levy funding in order to do our streets. We did about portions of 9 to 10 streets this year. In addition, we added, for example, the Richland from Schaefer on up to Oxbow, so that when you came off a nice bridge, you weren't in Moonville pothole kind of land. And the parking area around Athens Book Center, I don't know if people had noticed before how degraded that was, but we added some asphalt there. In addition, the asphalt that went down for this nice roller rink at Nature Work. So it's critical that the street levy continues, because we don't only use those for our own projects, and we know we only get a small portion, but it's leverage for any of the other grants that we receive. The federal highway only awards at 80%, so the other 20% has to come from local funds. We can use that as match, and we always have to pay for the design engineering. So just want to put that up.
At one point, could you calculate how much stimulus grants and other grants that has been leveraging for the past few years, so people can have an idea? Thank you.
Member Bain?
Yes, and I would like at some future meeting, sooner rather than later, some sort of general presentation on the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. Specifically, I guess I'm a bit concerned that one of the entities, the OU engineering professor, is now part of a corporate entity, and that was in the paper, and it seems to me that that creates a different problem for us with respect to interaction and working. Specifically, I guess I've heard the engineer talk about potentially us paying part of it, and I just don't think we should. And I don't know where it is, because it's been pretty loose with all the other things going on, and I'd like it nailed down, if I could, in very specific terms about what's going to go, who's paying what, how much is coming from that stimulus money, and that would help my understanding. And I may just be the only one with this concern.
Actually, I'm a little concerned too, and I'm glad that Paula brought this up, because we had entered into this understanding with this professor months ago, and then it just kind of disappeared until there was the article in the paper about her selling the process,
or not purchasing of her devices. At least I've already asked Andy the same question. He's talking about phasing this, and so absolutely we can have him come and talk about the different phases. One of it being, because we have the stimulus money, the EECBG grant that we have, that has to be completed by July of 2012. So some of that will be on a more rapid, fast track before we go into the others. And we did include your UV, so that all this will be explored.
Right. Well, I guess that I'm concerned because I don't think there was ever much of a public discussion, and I have read in the paper that there are other entities that are way forward on this as well. And, I just don't understand how a sort of casual relationship a year ago has kind of mushroomed into some sort of responsibility. I don't think we have any at this point. At least I hope we don't. I know the engineer may want it, but he shouldn't be gambling out ahead. Okay?
I'll get it cleared.
Loud and clear? All right.
Okay. Now we're going to go ahead to second reading. Ordinance 7810, an ordinance granting renewal of a revocable license to Ohio University for use of a portion of the city right-of-way on Riverside Drive for parking. Ordinance 7910, an ordinance granting renewal of a revocable license to Rural Action to allow a mural on a portion of the city right-of-way on Stimson Avenue.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Can I move that we table this for the moment?
Second, tell us why.
Right now, there was some discussion about the upkeep and maintenance of the mural and what sort of requirement would be what sort of steps would be required in the revocable license. It's been brought to the attention of Rural Action, and they are bringing it to their Board of Directors, and they're going to discuss it at their next Board of Directors meeting, which is at the end of the month.
End of September.
So they're going to discuss it and come back to us. We can include those sort of things in an updated version of the revocable license.
Yes.
I would just like to add that this has also been on the agenda for the Athens Municipal Arts Commission in discussing mural policy and the revocable license, noting that if there were changes to the mural, then it would likely have to go in front of
Exactly.
the Municipal Arts Commission.
We have a motion to table this ordinance. Do we have a second?
I did.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. All those in favor of tabling ordinance 7910, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. The ordinance is tabled until we hear back from the Board of Rural Action, probably early October. Ordinance 8010, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into contracts for design engineering of the Oxbow Bridge Project 247 and declaring an emergency. I think, okay, we're okay. And now we'll move into ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 8110, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Athens, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with the state of Ohio for renewal of an easement necessary for the sanitary relief sewer projects 17, 18, and 19 on land under the jurisdiction of Ohio University and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Member Bain.
Fellow council members, Debbie asked me to get moving on this. The state gave us a time frame that probably isn't easy to meet in a statutory city. So I suggested that we would read it the first time, talk about it at the meeting next week, and then read it the second time and pass it if we can. This has been an area where from the Courier Street pump station over to roughly, probably by Harold Street and then back around to by the credit union, we had a relief sewer. One or two segments of that required an easement, which is the right to use land. Actually, this was part of a larger question about whether we should trade fee simple absolute for an easement, and I think the answer is we will not. So, but anyway, we do have this, some land that is state land that the university manages. And so that's why this is here. And there will be a bunch of them, and so I'll just let them read it after that. Okay, so we'll talk about it next week?
Sure. And this, just to note that this easement is for 25 years, where the revocable easement that we just discussed was for 10 years.
10 years, yes.
So this is...
They were hoping for that big swap, but never did.
Okay. Ordinance 8210, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Athens, Ohio to enter into an agreement with the state of Ohio for renewal of an easement for a water line and pump station on East State Street under the jurisdiction of Ohio University and declaring an emergency. Again, Member Bain.
This is the pump station that was once in front of the mall, and for the life of me, I can't even think about where it is now, but it's on the south side of the East State Street. I believe it's brick.
It's lovely.
It's lovely? Oh, that's great. Lovely pump station. Okay, so that's what we're asking for, the water line, because we are on land that is owned by the state that Ohio University manages. Once again, we're talking about a 25-year easement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Ordinance 8310, Member Bain again. An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Athens, Ohio to enter into an agreement with the state of Ohio for an easement for a water line on Home Street under the jurisdiction of Ohio University and declaring an emergency.
And once again, you know where Home Street is, by Putnam Square and near the library. And we did another part of this earlier under Chris Fall's sponsorship, and this is going to be, we're using land that is state of Ohio land currently managed by Ohio University. So that's what's going on here.
Ordinance 8410, an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street on Monday, October 25th, 2010, from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. for Trick or Treat, hosted by the Athens Uptown Business Association, introduced by Councilmember Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an annual ordinance for an annual event that is sponsored by the Athens Uptown Business Association. It's very well attended by lots of trick-or-treaters in costume, mostly young children from Athens City and also some of the other communities.
And lots of parents.
And lots of parents. And it's really a festive event, so you just need to remember, don't try and drive on Court Street during that time. It's October 25th, 5:30 to 7. It closes Court Street from Union to Carpenter, and then it also bans parking on the street during that time. It's just much safer with that many children. There are hundreds of children and other parents there, and it makes it a lot easier.
Member Butler?
Thank you. I just wanted to briefly comment that I'm a little jealous that Member Nisley gets to introduce this legislation.
But then, look what you have.
But, But I will also acknowledge, as a friendly reminder too, that many of us had been delayed coming to council on that Monday night as a result of all of the closings. So, friendly reminder.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry.
I wasn't thinking clearly all the way through. Debbie helped get all the Halloween ordinances together. It would be a good sign, a show of faith, if we could offer the parking garage free during that event. I'm being told that that becomes an amendment and might shift this, but we're kind of up against it. By the 20th of October, we would need to have all this in place. It's in there? It's in there.
Oh, it is. It is.
Okay.
It's Section 2 on the ordinance. We need to read the detail.
I guess.
Someone didn't bring their reading glasses.
Busted.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, Member Butler, you're coming up here.
Thank you, sir.
Ordinance 8510, an ordinance banning parking and closing that portion of Court Street from Mulberry to Carpenter on October 30th and 31, 2010, in anticipation of a large number of people converging on downtown Athens, Halloween weekend.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm confused. I didn't know there was such an event.
Yes, right.
No, in all seriousness, the next four, including this one, are all relevant, and safety is the key word here. So this particular ordinance, Mr. President, is essentially, as described, banning the parking on Court Street from Mulberry to Carpenter, and also closing vehicular traffic, as noted there on the dates, October 30th and 31st. Thank you.
Ordinance 8610, an ordinance establishing a glass-free drinking container zone on Court Street and adjoining sidewalks between Union and State Streets on October 30th and 31st, 2010, Halloween weekend.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, again, this ordinance is relevant to Halloween and is noting that the area should be free of glass containers. Again, this is a safety issue for obvious reasons. Thank you.
Okay. Ordinance 8710, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting, to allow vending in a designated area on October 30th and 31st of 2010, Halloween weekend.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is addressing, as noted, vending, peddling, and soliciting, so that there's designated areas, and the City Service Safety Director also has some input on the aspects of this particular legislation. Section 3 acknowledges that vendors currently holding a license to vend on East Union Street shall be allowed to continue to operate at a time and location determined by the City Service Safety Director, and shall pay a special event vending fee of $150. Next, notes that no registration fee will be required for the first space for charitable organizations, civic groups, and nonprofit organizations. Next is Section 3 notes that a fee of $500 for one space shall be established for all others. Local businesses will be permitted to register for spaces 7 days in advance, and any such additional administrative rules and regulations as may be established by the City Service Safety Director. Thank you.
Comments or questions here? No? Ordinance 8810, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Section 13.04.10, unnecessary noise in the downtown area on October 30th and 31st, 2010, Halloween weekend.
And thank you again, Mr. President. Lastly, this particular ordinance is, as noted, regarding noise, and I'll make a brief thank you again to the executive branch. I believe in today's paper I saw something from Captain Pyle describing the new noise ordinance and going into details there, which I think was very informative. I think I saw it in the paper. And this particular issue is suspending noise on that particular date of Halloween. Thank you.
2010 appropriation ordinance. Member Kuhn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for missing the committee meeting. I was trapped on the bypass for 45 minutes, which apparently turned out to be the traffic pattern change. And so, but I understand that Kathy went over everything in this ordinance. So, this, of course, is an ordinance amending the 2010 appropriation ordinance and authorizing inter-fund transfers. First of all, would be the $35,000 to the Tourism Fund to make payments to the Athens County Convention and Visitors Bureau, $9,000 to the General Fund for unanticipated expenses for the police department. This would be for supplies. $15,000 to the General Fund, other administration for Halloween, and I understand this is really, really needed. 46 cents to Sewer Debt Fund, 758, transaction class 400 to cover loan interest, and $5,614.57 to Route 56 SA Debt Fund, transaction class 600 for transfer, and increasing the total appropriations by said amounts. Also, this ordinance would be further amended by decreasing and increasing the following. Decrease General Fund Auditor 101.102, transaction class 200 by $2,000, and increase transaction class $500 by the same amount for office chairs for the auditor office employees. Decrease Sewer Fund Maintenance 750.635 TC 100 by $50,000, and increase TC 200 by the same amount for sewer maintenance projects, and decreasing and increasing the total appropriations by said amounts. And I'm sure that Kathy told you that that money is available because they were down 2 employees this year, and so the money is there to be moved from salaries. And then Section 3, the auditor is hereby authorized to make the following interfund transfers from General Fund 101 to Agency Fund 901, 40 cents. And the Route 56 SA Debt Fund 764 to Sewer Debt Fund 758, $5,614.57. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we'll let you do it again. Ordinance 9010, an ordinance authorizing the auditor to reduce 2010 year-end appropriations. And again, the auditor did talk about that, but
Okay.
it's yours to introduce.
This is something that has to be done on an annual basis, and so appropriations that were not adequate have to be reduced, and so that would take care of this.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to announcements and other business. Do we have announcements? We have some committees that need to meet.
Safety.
Yes.
Yeah. The same, yeah. Environmental. No, I'm sorry. Planning and development. Sorry.
Okay.
I love it.
Anybody else?
Budget?
And finance?
Safety. Security cameras and some other things too. We were talking about that last.
Environment.
But that's
Okay,
one of the
actually,
things I want to bring up.
I already had that down. I don't know where it came from. Over there.
I think it
Okay,
is.
yeah.
I'm not sure
Okay.
which. We were talking about that last
So we have,
Thursday. And I'm not
Chris,
quite
did you
sure
put
what
mine
that
in?
is.
yes. What?
Chris Nice.
Community issues.
Okay, so we have 5 committees on the agenda: safety, planning and development, environment, finance, community issues. That's for next week.
Can we understand?
And other business. Did you
I
have
just have
continuation?
2 vehicles to be disposed of, and I was debating on whether or not that could go under finance and personnel or need to be under transportation. They were seized vehicles. Bad vehicles. No.
Is it-
We've
Authorization for
typically,
disposal,
right,
so-
we've typically put them through the disposals through Transportation
Okay.
Committee.
I'll have to add another committee.
But they couldn't finance also, it's finance meeting next week.
Yeah,
Why don't we do
we'll
it through
work
that?
We'll work it out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make it work. Yes.
Would that be possible to make an announcement
I
about
think
why
you
the
should.
community issues?
Yeah.
Just to alert people and also to invite them to attend next week's committee meeting. A portion of that will be a brief presentation by a person named Mr. Michael Wood Lewis, who's the co-founder of a project called the Front Porch Forum. And it's an online neighborhood communication system that's been working in the Burlington, Vermont area for about 10 years with about 20,000 subscribers. He's in part with help from the university and some of the community and neighborhood associations. He is going to visit here for the day so we can learn more about his project and he can see more of Athens. And we'll be hearing more about that. So he'll be here at 7 o'clock next Monday night.
Okay. We're just discussing the Halloween ordinances won't have time to go the full 3 readings.
I guess we'll have to cancel Halloween.
Yes, we could do, that is one possibility. However, another possibility would be to schedule a special session or just
End of September? I mean, the last Monday in September.
okay.
If you want to.
It's a-
Okay, it doesn't matter. So my easements, what timeline did I have? I love the state.
Okay, is
Easements too.
yeah, okay, so is a special session on, what is that date, member?
27th?
No, next Monday.
Pardon me?
Next Monday.
Oh, next Monday on the 13th.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so we're going to do it next Monday, okay.
At 7?
The special session will be for the second reading of Halloween and easement ordinances. No votes
And
taken.
appropriation.
I'm sorry,
Anything that's going through all
yes.
this. Okay.
Okay. Any other committees need to discuss anything? We're about to go into an executive session. Excuse me? Oh, opportunity, I skipped that. Opportunities for citizens to speak. I'm sorry. I read ahead. Are there any members of our audience who would like to speak to us?
I would just like to say one
please,
thing. Could you speak up? You are very difficult to hear, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, that's a perennial complaint. These microphones don't actually go into the room as much as they go onto TV, and we haven't been able to solve that. But thank you. You need to keep reminding us, because we make a lot of noise up here. It sounds like to us. So, okay, thank you. Anybody else need to speak to us? Okay. Okay, now we will move into executive session to discuss land acquisition and labor negotiations. It has to be members of council only. Who else would we like to invite? The auditor, the service safety director, the mayor.
Acting mayor.
Okay. And we'll let the law director come. Okay, and so if everybody can be out by 8:15? All those in favor of inviting those people? Aye.
Aye.
No, we have to voice vote going in, don't we? Do we have to voice vote going in?
I got it.
Okay, so we...